So for any of you that don't know me, my name's Robert. I'm the president of Develop right now. There's Alex. He saved me recently because our current officer's dropped, so he's our new officer. I would love to also introduce William. He's been a long time member of Develop, and unfortunately, he's sick, so he's helping me moderate the Zoom call instead. So it's been a lot of fun. Thank you all for coming. I've got treats. It was supposed to be for bingo, but I don't think we're gonna get to it. We could do it next week maybe, but we've already burned a lot of time and we got a lot of things to talk about. And I also kind of want to see where this goes, and I want to answer as many questions as we can. So let's get going, shall we? So who are we? Well, this was a passion project initially started by Michael. He has graduated now, so it's my honor to take over. And the entire idea is to try to get people to make games. It's been a passion of mine forever to make games. I just love it. My itch.io page is barren, but that's because I keep forgetting to post to it. I have like a hard drive full of games that I said will post once I figure out how to get it to play in browser on itch.io. Haven't figured that part out yet. So we actually have a lot of different people that we work with every semester. So at FSU, FIT, and FAU, the last two, they're struggling a little to keep their numbers up, but we have them. And every semester we do different events with them. We have Develop HQ, which is basically all of the schools coming together and showing off. For anyone that's been on the Discord and saw the little show off channel, that's quite literally, hey, here's my project. And that posts to HQ and to the UF. You get points. We have gamified the whole thing. It also shows up on the website, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's actually talk a little bit more about what I can get you to do. Like I said, every semester we do a game jam. I heard some people asking about how you get to game jams earlier. We try to make sure that we give you all the tools you can. So we actually have the date. I'm spoiling everything right now, but I'm trying to make sure all the information is as concise as possible. November 1st to 3rd, we will be having our game jam. We're going to try to get everyone. So that's FSU, which they're really good at losing right now. So we're just going to make sure to beat them. I do not care that we only have one win. They don't. So I'm going to keep mocking them. We also would love to do a few more socials. Last year, we weren't as lucky to do as many. So I'd like to come back and force, have some games, maybe go to Krishna. They keep getting more expensive, but it's a nice vibe and I love Plaza Americas. And also, I try to facilitate as much meeting and talking through these meetings as possible, these GBMs. I call them general body meetings, GBMs, but really it's just trying to make sure that everyone has a week, like an hour that you can sit down and say, this is for game development. Because that's one of the hardest parts is actually getting yourself to sit down to make it. Once it's fun, you can do it any time of the day, but making sure that I can give you that time to get that first hour where you're looking at Unity and you're like, why is it in C#? Why? And then all the weird nuances, making sure that all the different pieces really fit together. And then obviously we're going to have workshops. We have a ton, and I do mean an overwhelming amount of stuff at HQ, which is just all different videos from past members, especially Michael. He put in crazy work. If you guys love Unreal, he's got everything, including Blender tutorials to make your own models. He went crazy. I'm going to try to make sure that I can get some information out too, especially because this school kind of sucks with certain things, but we'll get to that rant later. Let's talk about game jams. Not that one, this one. So we're going to try to, as I said before, ours is going to be through the 1st to the 3rd. And the idea is to make a game quick, right? And that's very, very intimidating. 3 days max. There are technically ones that do 7 days a week, but you don't see those nearly as much. And I bet you're asking yourself, how, if I've never made a game, am I expected to make one in 3 days? And the answer is very easy. It should only be 30 minutes. Like, you're aiming for 30 minutes of content. And that's like, but then it's not a game, is it? You'd be surprised. Some of my favorite games I've played recently, and this is more a jab at AAA titles, but I liked our game jam games more than most AAA games. I'm looking at you, Starfield and Concord. I'm very sarcastic. I apologize if that comes off wrong, but also let's be real, those AAA titles need to step it up. So we're actually going to be posting as much information as we can possible. We're going to have an in-person room. I'm holding myself to this year. I'm going to try to get into contact with a teacher that I know that really likes game jams to try to see if I can get his room for 24-hour rooms, because we had that last fall. My memory, all these semesters mixed together in my head. I've been president for a bit, so it melds together. But if I can get a 24-hour room, I will try to make sure I run that for as long as possible and just make sure that everyone has as much time as possible to it. Mostly because I want to make sure that I help you guys enough so we can just absolutely wipe the floor with FSU. Don't mind the FSU slander. They're the second most active group and they need to stay that way. So these are all sourced from game jams. All these photos, the next two slides. I think that we've got a pretty good blend of different semesters too. And as you can see, the general theme with this is have fun with the game, be goofy, like this guy who's just got the biggest stunt walk I've ever seen, but also like try to keep it minimalist, because the hardest part of game development will forever be art, especially if you're doing 3D. Polygons will make you cry. Unless you're Bethesda and you just put 8,000 polygons and a computer that's under 16 terabytes of RAM can't work with it. I've seen their models. It is terrifying how little they care about optimization. But like legitimately, all of these, these are low poly assets, but they look great, especially for 72 hours. And let's be real, the art is second to the gameplay, and you can always make a fun, goofy game in 72 hours. Partially, the sleep deprivation helps with the goofy aspect of it, but you'd be surprised. And that time crunch really has you think, what can I do in 12 hours instead of what possibly could I do, where you're making this insane 7-year plan for a game. We've seen that way too many times too. So other things to keep your eyes on. As I mentioned, I've been president for a long time. I'm actually graduating this semester. So I want to get as many people as I can just practicing in leadership, because first off, having a big team really helps running a club, but also I would love to do more things with the club and I can only do so much. So if any of you are interested in leadership, I will literally have you mentored, where I'll show you like the behind the scenes, the little forms and stuff, which there isn't honestly that much, especially since student government really doesn't like this club and just refuses funding every semester. Very entertaining. But I just want, if you guys are interested in leadership at all, just talk to me. I can make it as little as you run one meeting or as big as you literally make an entire social night. Because I understand leadership is a huge commitment. And if you just want to dip your toes in or you want to cannonball into that pool, either way, I'm up for it. And then, as I said before, I'm going to make sure that we have weekly meetings. Not necessarily weekly workshops, but we will at least have a space every week where I'll be here. We'll have some other people that have made games, some people that aren't, that some people that are interested. We've got a whole blend. Sometimes it just becomes a social hour where we talk about games very generally. Sometimes it's someone just made an entire half of their game. We've seen both so far. So it's what you make of it. And I kind of love that. But talking a lot about GBMs in general. So this is how this semester is going to work. So like I said, I want to encourage you guys by any means to get started making a game. So we're going to have the start of every meeting be project presentations for whoever wants it. So that can be as simple as, hey guys, I made this really cool feature. I want to show off. You will look at me. Or it can be, hey, I'm thinking of making this game. It's going to do X, Y, Z, and I need ABC developers. Art, I need physics. I need someone to cry with at 3 a.m. when I'm coding and Unity just will not compile this item. Then they're done that. And then the idea will be to have a mini workshop. So these workshops we've had in the past, they usually took an hour. And I'm going to be honest, as someone that usually just watches them after the recording, an hour of content to parse through is harder to do. So I'm going to try to make it as small as possible so the rest of the time can just be social meetings. So the first one I'm going to make sure to do, it's literally next week. is GitHub. And the reason I'm doing it is because this school does not teach it, but expects you to know it. And there's a lot you can mess around with. I was actually a Publix intern this summer, and someone was using GitHub and quite literally had 2 months of work deleted because of one bad commit that I have taught how to avoid. So I like to try to make sure, actually, a lot of other clubs will do it. I know SSD usually does a semesterly GitHub, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. They make theirs an hour. Choose your time wisely. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to try to make sure that I listen to you guys. Part of today's meeting is after the fact, partially because this meeting started late. I'm going to have a form sent out for just interest where I will read through it and try to like basically parse through our old HQ documents and hour-long videos and make sure that I can give a 20-minute compact little bite-sized lesson. So then after the fact, when we have your time, you can either work with the workshop that you want to do or just make the game. So if you want to show up 30 minutes late just for the social aspect, go ahead. I will not judge you. I will bring snacks though for the people that do come to the workshops, so do know there's a trade-off. And initially we were going to do bingo. I'm just going to throw candy at you guys instead because it's late. But first I would like to open the floor both to the Zoom and to the people here about any questions for the club, any comments, concerns, any suggestions. 100%. I want to hear it all. So if you have anything, feel free to shoot it out. Go ahead.
So the projects, is it just like games themselves or like do game mods? Can we present mods as well?
I would love to encourage mods as well. We've never done mods before, but honestly, modding was the way I got into game dev. I would bet a lot of, actually, half of the Black Ops 2 zombies, if any of you like Black Ops 2 zombies, half of the developers started with modding. Don't fact check me on that because it may be slightly lower than half, but I know specific developers, but I'm getting off track. So you had a question?
I was gonna ask, like, do we mainly work on projects as a group, or is it more like you work on your own project and just kind of like collaborate with people?
So in terms of the projects that you can advertise up here or just in the develop, I will never tell you how many people you need. That is honestly, a game design document tells you how many people you need. If it's 27 pages, I suggest 13 people personally, but it can be a 1-person project or a 30-person project. Better have a very concise PowerPoint if it's going to be 30 people. But as far as I'm concerned, I will not limit it. And if it's a mod, as long as you can fit the word video game in it and it's not, I'm advertising for a company, I will let you come up here. We're going to have a form so I can filter it out at the beginning before it actually comes up here for obvious reasons. But I don't want to limit you guys. As a matter of fact, I want to encourage you to do as much as possible when it comes to inventing. I'm going to go to Zoom. Yeah, so playtesting games during the GBMs, 100%. I completely forgot to mention this in the Discord. We have a role now for game testing. Completely forgot to roll it out. Anyone that's joined the Discord in the last 3 weeks, I think, should have seen the role when they were doing the onboarding. This is the official announcement. It exists. So if you come in person, there is going to be a lot more support for the weekly GBMs in person just because it's a lot easier to maintain. But you want to do, even if you want to do the project presentations and you're like, hey, I need someone to game test, 100%, roll in. I'd love to see it. Go ahead.
Do you guys primarily use Unity and Unreal, or do you guys make your own engines too?
That's okay. So the question was if we use Unity, Unreal, or make our own engines. So most of the people that I know in this club use Godot. That's just personally what I know a lot of people do. I like Unity a lot more than anything else. I'm actually doing a VR and a regular 2D game in Unity right now, and just personal projects. And then some of our past guys have done Unreal. So like I said, we have do you have an estimate of how many videos Michael made? It's gotta be like at least 60, right? We have a lot of videos on all of them. I think William has made his own game engine. I don't know how operable it is yet, but I know he's made one. But if you're making your own engine, I would have to do some more research to help you with a self-made engine. But again, if you really want to talk about self-made engines, I'll put in the time for research. It'll be like the last week of the semester, just because I will have to do a lot of research on that. I'm gonna be honest with you up front. I can't give a lecture about that in the next week, but I'd love to encourage it. Like that would be cool. But one piece of advice, if you're gonna make your own engine, have a very good reason for it. Like the biggest example I can see of making your own engine was like back in 2013, 2012. All the people that made one of the 2.5D games, where it's mostly 2D, but not exactly. A lot of those had to be self-made engines just because Uni and Unreal didn't really support it in a neat way, and it just made it more optimized. I can't think of the name of the game for the life of me right now, but there's a game where literally you rotate around the axis. That's a made engine. Unless you have a very specific feature crucial to your game, you're going to spend a lot of time on a game engine. So either do it because you want to make an engine or because there's a very explicit feature. My 2 cents on that. I'm just going to check Zoom real quick. Adding to the playtest. Yeah, no. And then also, if any of you are going to watch the videos, we have filters for each engine. For the love of God, there's 3 years of content there. Don't go manually scrolling. At least use like a bubble sort or something. That was a very nerdy joke. I apologize. William said in the chat, also adding to the playtest question, I plan to integrate project workshops. So yeah. Yeah, no, so also if you have like a specific game you're making and you're like, hey, I'm stuck on something, feel free to use that as your excuse to say, hey, can we do a workshop on this? And then like after the workshop, I will just flat out help you with it. Especially if it's Unity, I rather know a lot about that. Not to pat myself on the back, but yeah, Unreal, I've worked with it, not as much, but again, if you have questions about it, 100% workshops. Form will come out soon, I promise. As you can see, especially in person. You guys know I've been running around like an idiot trying to get this first meeting to work. Oh, yes, Discord. I am totally fine if you have a suggestion and you don't want the world to see it, to DM me personally. I have that little tab on Discord. It says current management. I'm Robert. I'm the one with the really weird spider looking emblem. There's a story behind it. If you're curious, I'll tell you. But 100% you have a thing you want to message me about, or just in general. DMs are open. Feel free. Obviously, we also have the suggestions channel. We have discussion posts, whatever you feel like. Let's also just shouting out anyone that somehow by act of God found this classroom and found us without the Discord. There's the QR code. I doubt there's anyone in this room that applies to, but just in case you
Yep,
did.
that was me.
That was
Me.
you found this club without the Discord.
Without the Discord. Yep.
Incredible.
I'm gonna have to sit down real quick.
You thought it.
I went on to Student Union and then I followed your guys' Instagram. And then I looked at the one post that you had like in the last like 6 months.
The one post on Instagram got us our 17th. Fuck.